Well, hello everybody and welcome back to the Adobe XD Daily Creative Challenge. I'm your host, Jesse Showalter, and we are cranking on a wonderful Friday afternoon. Why don't we just say hello to some people that are in the chat? And we are doing it. It's Friday. It's the last day of the XD Daily Creative Challenge. It's sad, but it's not sad because there's plenty of content here on Adobe Live, here on behance.net, just each and every day. So come back looking for amazing content. Hey, while we're talking about it, why don't we jump right over to my screen and let's talk about if you're just for some reason popping over to the XD Daily Creative Challenge and it is on the last day, but don't worry, you can go back and you can do all of it again. You just go to behance.net/challenge/XD, hit that big blue button, scroll down, and you can get all of the replays, watching the videos, and getting the starting files from all the previous challenges. You're also going to want to make sure you sign up for the Discord because at the end of the stream today, we are going to be taking a look at previous submissions in our Discord and over on Behance. So make sure you post your work so you can get feedback right here on this stream as well as other streams. So stay tuned for that cool stuff. Hey, let's kick right over to our starting file for the day. We are going to be building a wine website and we're going to be doing some parallax motion. So about the challenge, designing e-commerce website, high-end wines. We're going to use auto animate, a little bit of 3D transform to bring the page to the next level and make it look a little bit parallaxy. It's going to be really, really fun. And the first thing you might see is we have a dark background. Our artboard is a 1920 by 1080 artboard, and it has a dark background. And we also have this PNG that I went and cut out of a bunch of wine bottles, and we're going to want to use that. The first thing we're going to do is hit R for rectangle. And let's just trace a rectangle around one of these bottles. I'm going to grab the shape that I just made and the image and press Command or Control Shift M. That's going to mask with the shape. And for some reason, Siri wanted to come up. We don't want that. But now we can enlarge this whole thing and put it off to one side. What's cool is later on, we'll be able to swap out bottles just like that. That'll be nice and easy. So that's a fun trick. Another thing we have over in our assets panel is we have a color palette selected. We have some character style, some typography selected, and I have a few things like a button and a logo and a footer because later on I don't want to waste your time making a footer with lots of links. So I just created that beforehand. I'm going to drag our logo out. And why don't we just shrink this down, kind of an abstract shape, and I'm going to hit T for text and just put something like autumn oak. That could be the name of our wine. Let's make it white over here in the inspector panel. Let's just drag out a nicer version of it, and then let's choose one of these character styles we already had. I'm thinking Playfair, and that is up at 65 pixels. That's probably going to be a little bit too big for us. That's okay. Let's just put it underneath. We're going to make a little fake branding right here. Let's grab the two of these and just bring them down together. Let's group them together and let's just put them in the very center of the page. Now, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure that I turn on my layout grid, right? So we are using a layout grid today, and it has 12 columns and it's just kind of spaced out. And I just turned that on and off quickly using Command or Control Shift apostrophe. We can turn that on and off nice and quickly. Now, the next thing we want to do is I'm thinking this 1920 by 1080 that we have here is gonna kind of be like our viewport in our browser. Think of it like that when we're building our website. So I'm gonna draw a rectangle out just like this, and I'm going to take the border off, and I have this really great image over here in my folder, and it's just this beautiful image of a vineyard. Okay. So I'm going to put that in, and it just masks the image inside there for us. We can double click always and kind of just do a little art direction and move things around if we want to, but I want to bring that behind everything. And then what I want to do is bring the transparency of it down. It's just going to look really classy. You can tell it's a vineyard we're talking about, but it's not insane, right? Okay. If we were to drag our artboard down, unfortunately though, you can see we have a hard line. So we don't want this hard line right here. Why don't we take our image and just create another version of it? And instead of filling it with that image, why don't we fill it with not a solid color, but a linear gradient, okay? We're gonna take our first color in our linear gradient to be the same as the background color, which is kind of an off black. And we're going to do the same thing to the other side, except the first side, this top side here in our gradient, we're going to bring the transparency of it down to 0. Now I can grab the entire rectangle and just bring it down, and now I'm just gradiating a little bit of that bottom half out without messing up my entire kind of look and feel. So now I'm just manipulating just the transparency of that background image, maybe something more like 17%. So far, so good. I'm digging it. I'm into it. So now let's get some other text on the page. I'm just gonna take the text that I did there for my logo, Command-C, Command-V to paste it, and let's just bump it up again. And let's do something like bold over here so you can really see it. Again, I'm gonna bring out that layout grid. Okay, I'm gonna put it on the very edge. I'm gonna do something like 90 years of experience making quality wines. Okay, something like this. And let's just fix our spelling because our spelling is off in everything that we're doing. So we just want to capitalize each one of these words. And then I kind of just want to contain the text. So I'm going to switch over from the different type of text I had there over to something like this. And you know what? Maybe we could do auto height text. That could actually be really good for us. That way, as we make this a little bit bigger, because I'm thinking we want it to be really bold, really exciting, we could still stretch this out a little bit. But now we can play with the line height, and our auto height text is going to expand for us. That's really cool. I dig that. Okay, so let's take this grid off. And you know what? I might actually cheat the grid a little bit. It's a little bit wide for my taste. And I might just bring a few things in. I'm just messing with my typography and just making sure I like how everything is coming out. All right, so let's do it on 3 lines, quality wines, like that. Okay, this could be fun. Now let's put our bottle on a similar line over here on the side. We'll actually just cheat it and bring it in. I'm just going to center things optically. And then let's get some other text above that. We're going to use Proxima Nova, and we're using this alt condensed version. So the autumn oak story, something like that. And then let's bring another version of this down. And let's do, I don't know, find out more. It'd just be some sort of generic kind of text here. But I love this combination of big, kind of chunky serif font and then like a nice kind of classy sans serif font. It looks really, really nice. Now, I tell you what, let's do something. Let's make this a link. And these are on the light side. Why don't we, we have them in light, semi-bold, or sans, or excuse me, or what is the other one? Thin. That thin is too thin. Semi-bold is a little too bold. So let's stay with the light version that we have here. I'm going to go ahead and take this one down here and let's make a little call to action button out of it. Okay, so we're making it kind of a link style. Everything's lined up and looking good. Let's take E for ellipse and just draw it in ellipse like this. And we're going to get through all of this as quickly as possible to get some fun prototyping stuff. Let's turn on, we did a white border. Let's turn on background blur. Okay, and let's take the border and bring the transparency of it down. And we want the background blur to be real subtle, just a little bit blurred like that. And then let's zoom way in and take our pen tool and just draw out a nice little chevron. We're going to give it round cap ends and soft kind of edges. And let's just bring that down. I think we made a weird wonky little mistake here by, let's go up here. We don't want this point. There we go. Now everything is straight. That's weird. So funny. I could just tell that it was off, right? Let's make that white. And again, we can bring the transparency of it down. It doesn't need to be so bright. We're going to bring it in and just balance this little guy. And let's punch up the size of it. Now we're going to optically balance again, because when you put an arrow or a chevron inside of a circle, it's heavily weighted in the back end. And so even though this is mathematically balanced, right, optically it looks a little bit off. So we're just going to kick it over a little bit, and now it looks a little bit more balanced. Okay, I kind of like that. We might use that later again in our website process. So why don't we just Command or Control K, turn it into a component. I'm going to grab these two elements, group them together. It's kind of like one link. And then I'm going to grab all these elements and group them together. They're kind of like now a nice little lockup. Now, I really like our logo, but shouldn't our logo be on our wine? Hey, that's an easy thing to do. We just come in, let's open up our assets, or excuse me, our layers panel. We see this masked group. Let's just put this right inside that masked group, shrink it down. And why don't we turn this text to be something like, we just want the text here, excuse me. Let's go black there on our text. Now we can see our branding. Now again, this is really, really fun because later on we'll be able to move our images over and still have that same branding on our wine. So that's pretty cool. Kind of just bringing the whole brand of this thing together. But one thing we're missing is we need some navigation items on this website. So why don't we just paste some more of this sans serif text here and do something like wines. And let's just make that point text. We're just going to line everything up there. We'll put this about 170 pixels away. Let's do our mission. Okay, and we like that. So let's just grab those and line these up over on this side of our, oh, well, we're almost lining it up. Let's line it up there. This should be lined up on that line as well. So we're just making sure things are slightly lined up. And let's go like contact us, something like that. And again, this one could be like a wine blog. I don't know, something. Okay. All right, so pretty good. Why don't we, I like what we've done so far. So why don't we grab this whole thing that we've just made here, group it together. Let's call it our hero or our header, whatever you want to call it. But we got something cool going on. Pretty fun. Next thing we want to do is we want to keep stretching our website, our page down a little bit. And why don't we just really quickly, let's drop the footer in there so we know that eventually we are going to get to our footer. Okay, so we have a nice footer there all lined up. It's got some links and a branding. It's all coming together. It's looking really nice. But now let's do another section, maybe like some sort of value proposition section or a call to action of some kind. Could be pretty fun. I just want to go back and make sure that my mask group here is above my gradient. I can see my gradient. Let's just name that gradient like that, and let's just make sure it's below everything. That way my wine doesn't kind of get lost. You know what I mean? Get lost there. We don't want to get lost. We want it to stand out. Okay, now we're doing kind of a dark website, and we could do like a bright, vibrant white area, but I kind of like that mellow, dark vibe. And when you make dark interfaces, it's all about different tones of dark, right? So we have this kind of darker one up here. Our artboard is this deeper black, and our footer is this off black. So we're just going to reuse that off black. And I think I had a button that I had pre-created. So why don't we just bring that button out? Everything's going really, really smooth and nice. It's looking really nice. Why don't we take some text? And again, we're just going to do kind of a call to action area in here. Let's just pop some text in. Let's center align this text though. You know, only use center align text when you need to, is my opinion, but this is a good use case of it. We make great wines for the good of mankind. That's always a good statement, right? So we're going to bring that down there. Now, also, we want to bring a little pizzazz to our site. It's looking really nice right now, but what if it looked, I don't know, a little bit nicer? And I'm kind of rethinking the bold here and thinking, I think regular looks better. That's just me. Now, I have a really cool thing. I want to add some design elements to this website. So I'm going to head over to my file that I have, and I have an Illustrator file. Did you know you can open Illustrator files up in Adobe XD? You sure can. We could just say open with, not Illustrator. That would be the thing to do there. But instead, let's open with Adobe XD, and then let's force close Illustrator, because we don't need to open up Illustrator even. We can do it right here in XD. We can ignore any of the issues we were having with trying to open an Illustrator, and look at that. It opens up in XD, and all of these elements are now vectors, right? They're SVG, like scalable vector graphics that I can grab different elements that I like this, or maybe that, and maybe my leaves. I can copy them. I can come over to my website and I can paste them in, okay? And now look at that. We have these beautiful elements. Now, these are really, really hard to grab because they're thin-lined, kind of sketched things. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to draw a rectangle over each of them and make it transparent or invisible like this. And then I'm just going to make sure that I kind of group them together so I can always grab them really, really easily, right? So I'm going to, like, for instance, grab these two, group them together. Grab those two, group them together. Group those together, really easy. Grab these two, group them together. At least I have something now to grab onto without having to grab all those little nitty-gritty lines. Now, the other thing that I want to do is I really want to change the color of all of these illustrations. So I'm going to grab each of the illustrations. I'm going to change their color. And then what we can do is we can take each of them and bring the transparency down. Now you'll see, for instance, if we grab our leaves and bring them over here into our project, we can just make sure that it's inside of our hero header element. And let's just drop it behind our wine bottle and bring the opacity down a little bit more. It's nice. Look at that nice subtle touch. Let's make all of them at about 18%. Now let's do the same thing here. We got some grapes and we have this great corkscrew. Why don't we bring those on the page, bring those somewhere around 18%, and we can kind of just lead these off to the side. Maybe even do a little fun rotation here. Play with the size of this guy, a little rotation there. That's really nice. And now we have this great kind of like call to action. Get people to see the wine list, right? That's what we want. Let's drop this down a little bit more and give our website a little bit more space, because now I'm thinking we probably want to bring our last element in. Let's make this thing of cheese real big and drop it down to, again, about 18%. Let me know if you guys are doing all right out there. Okay, really, really fun. Now, I think the last thing we should do is some wine cards so we can reuse that bottle and that branding, but bring some fun kind of card elements that we'll be able to animate later on inside of our project. So why don't we bring up this guy again? And I think I started something weird on my computer. We don't want that. So let's stop doing what we're doing. I have a video of myself going. That's not what we wanted at all. Okay, so whatever that was, sorry about that. I hit a key way too quickly, but let's move on. I'm gonna hit R for rectangle. I'm gonna draw out a card like this. I'm gonna round the edges of it just a little bit, something like maybe 8 pixels. And then why don't we make a couple of these cards just like that. Okay, it's all kind of coming together. Now I'm gonna borrow my bottle that I had up there, and I'm gonna come in here and just paste it in, but let's shrink it down. It doesn't need to be that big, but I do like the idea of it kind of popping off the card a little bit, okay? So there's one like that, and then we're gonna need some typography. So why don't we come in here and just give a name to this wine. Let's just paste some text right there and bring the size of that text down, and let's make it point text so we can just bring it down, and let's call this like the 2015 Napa Valley. Let's make it a little bit bigger. We want this to kind of be a title inside of our card. Let's bring some more down and we'll make this area text. Okay, we will make sure that both of these are left aligned, and I tell you what, let's switch that over here to our Proxima Nova, but we'll make it a dark version of our Proxima Nova, and let's bring the size down. It doesn't need to be that big. So we're just gonna make a little size there, bring over our plugins. Let's find content generator, shall we? I'm gonna open up content generator, and I'm just gonna put a paragraph inside. It's really, really big, and the line height to this paragraph is also massive. So we don't need all that. We just needed a little bit of that, okay? Let's bring it up and group it together. I'm liking what we got here. Now that we have a card that we like, why don't we just group that whole card together? And again, let's just duplicate them across like this. And we can switch these up really, really easily by just, again, grabbing the bottle, moving it over. There's a different one. We'll call this one the 2017 Sonoma, like that. And we'll do one more. Let's bring this thing all the way over. Ooh, I like this dark bottle. And then let's bring our branding down and change the text to be white. Ooh, we're almost there. We missed it. Let's zoom in so we're actually getting a hold of our text. Okay, so we're gonna make that white. And everything looks like it's kind of going all right. I was having a little technical difficulties in there for some reason. So let's try that one more time. Just gonna make that text white, and now you have a totally separate bottle. Okay, so now we have these 3 kind of bottles. Let's just look in our layers panel really quickly. And let's just call this card 1. And the next one we can call card 2. And the next one call card 3, and we'll just group them all together and call them the cards, because we want to give a little bit more space to our section above. These are working out really, really well. And again, we have this section that's called CTA, and we have this section, I think, where is it? This is our footer. This is our cheese. Let's just call that our cheese. It's just floating around, and that's looking pretty good. Where are our cards? These are our cards, like that. Okay, so we've designed our website, and now we want to do a little bit of 3D transform and parallax action. So why don't we do that? To do that, what we're going to want to do is move this over another version of our artboard. Let's just call this wine website 2. And then what we can do is on the first one, well, actually on both of these, we're going to want to shrink the artboard size up to be that size or our viewport size. But before we do that, we're going to want to grab everything and group it together and call it website. Okay, now that we've grouped everything together, let's do that process again. Let's make another artboard here. Let's come over and we will duplicate, and now we want to bring the size of our artboard up so that it is 1920 by around 1080. Let's do the same thing over here, and we can just make that a lot quicker by just typing 1080 into our artboard. Now what we want to do is we want the whole thing to move up like this, right? And we're going to do it like on a like pressing a downward arrow, a gaming keypad trigger. We want to move the whole thing. Once we move the whole thing though, we want things to parallax and move into place. So to do that, we're going to have to come into our design and start moving things around. We're going to move some elements around, bring the opacity of them down. Maybe I'll actually grab this whole section and move it down. And let's take our wines and let's stagger them down like this. Then when everything moves up, we want the elements to be moving out, and maybe even grabbing our image and expanding the size of it inside the mask. Now let's come inside of our prototype. Let's prototype the entire artboard from one to the other, and we'll say on a game and keypad, press down. We want it to auto animate, and we want it to take about 3 seconds. And I like ease in, ease out for something like this. And then we're gonna wanna go back, but our trigger this time is gonna be the up arrow key. And then let's check our prototype out and let's see what it looks like. I'm gonna press down on my keyboard. Oh, we're getting a weird transition. I don't know why. Let's double check and see. Our website, here we go. Games and keypad, game and keypad. I should auto animate. Why is it not auto animating? Let's just try it one more time and see why it wouldn't do that. Try it one more time. It's just not working for some reason. I don't know why. Let's go back to our design. We have a website there, we have a website there, and our website has moved. So let's just, let's troubleshoot and figure out why it's not working. Move it over once really quickly right there. Move the whole thing up, and let's just try the prototype before we get too far along. We want to game and keypad on the down key, auto animate over there, takes 3 seconds. Let's try that again. Now we're getting some motion. I don't know what we did wrong on the previous one, but we're gonna wanna do the same thing back. So again, let's go back and change those few elements. When we get here, we want our text to come up, everything to zoom into place, and we want our wine bottles to come into view like that, and we wanted our elements to zoom out of place. Okay, so let's try that one more time and see if we get some fun parallax animation. There's some parallax animation looking really good. Let's go back up and see if we can get our reverse of this. We're going to press up and go back. Let's try that. Press up, and now we're getting our parallax animation that goes back. Now we can have a little bit of fun with it as we do this. We can play with some 3D transforms as well. So why don't we come into this one here, our design, and why don't we just turn on our 3D transforms and just transform that card, and let's do transform that card. So we should see a little bit of 3D rotation as well on our wine cards. Whoa, just a little bit. Let's see if we can do some stuff too with our text. So let's come into this one. Let's change our text and just swivel it out one way. It'll be hard to see because it is a little bit invisible right now. Transparency is down. Let's swivel that out. Let's try this whole thing again, see if we can get even more 3D transforms happening. We have a little bit of troubleshooting we'd need to do, but for the most part, we're getting some fun parallax animation using Adobe XD. Just go back in and troubleshoot those, and it would look really, really great. We got time for just a few reviews of work, so let's check out this beautiful piece of work by Angelo Vaz's The Client Portal from the other day. We'll just open that up. Really nice Slack-like interface, nice use of color, and the animations and all the triggers are just on point. So the only thing I would say maybe is if you want a little constructive criticism is maybe think about how dark these shadows are down here. Don't think you need them, and maybe swap this main call to action color over here to add the add task and put that secondary action over there. But a beautiful interaction. Let's look at this one by Lucky. This is the same thing, the team dashboard or client portal, and hopefully we can get a little, oh, he's even framed it inside of a website for us. That looks kind of cool. So we're able to have some horizontal scroll action. Looks really, really nice. Able to hide and show a sidebar. Okay, everything. And we have our anchor links. And we have this one more I wanted to take a look at before we left today. And this was another one of our team dashboards. This one by Toru Asaki. Let's take a look at Toru Asaki's freelance client portal. Really smooth. Here comes our prototype video. Everything stays anchored on the left-hand side. That's a nice iteration. Able to do contracts and payment, slide back up, and still use those anchor links. This is a really gorgeous implementation. I like the colors. They're bright, they pop, they're nice. I love the work here. So hey, great job, everybody. Thanks for being a part of the stream today. Thank you for taking part in the Adobe XD Daily Creative Challenge. I'm your host, Jesse Showalter. Hopefully I will see you again on another one of these challenges soon. But until then, keep working, keep making amazing things, and keep your head up and stay safe. We'll see you next time.